Never fear, never fear. The big house breakdown is here. That's right. It's the bye week. All things strange and doom scrolling, right? Everybody losing their shit over, what's going on. We got a 7-2 team heading into the playoffs, winning games, whether it's ugly or it's pretty, but we winning in a game where it has so much parity, so much tenacity, so much outstanding play from beginning to end, so many quality athletes going up and down the field and doing their thing. Let me know if my mic sounds nice. We need to pump the brakes, bend a little, give a little, and act like all the people on the field are scholarship players. Act like they all been in the 7-on-7s. They all been in the track meets. They all lifted the weights. They all uh, did the discus and the shot put. They all put up, 400 and 500 pounds on a squat rack. All these young men can ball. And with that said, let's get into the ball of it all. So it's the bye week, right? Right. And it's an opportunity for most of us to examine ourselves, what we do wrong, what we do right, to get it right. A lot of people are very upset, especially Michigan fans, are very, very, in a tizzy right now over the shape of the team. That you act like the team was 2-7 instead of 7-2. So not really understanding what that's about. Could we look better doing it? Yes. But are we doing it? Yes. Yes. Jace. So be appreciative for the 7-2 record. We just got Oregon added to our conference. We just got UCLA, Washington, and USC added to our conference. We are 7-2 and ready to get it in for the last quarter of the season. Stop the blood clot crying. Everyone want heaven, but nobody want dead. See, I got my man Screwface right here, right? In the picture, talking to you. He said, stop the blood clot crying for what was a 6-2 team. And we're a 7-2 team. Just get to work. All your season goals are right there. And I couldn't say it better. I couldn't say it better. I couldn't say it more. We will get into that when we break down our Eye in the Sky, which is about the character, the integrity, and the momentum of the team's move of our team moving forward. But before we do that, let's get into the college football week 10 that was. First, we got to talk about this AP poll. Here we go. Washington at 1, Indiana at 2, A&M at 3, Bama at 4, Georgia at 5, uh, Oregon at 6, Ole Miss at 7, BYU at 8, Tech at 9, Notre Dame at 10, Okie at 11, Virginia at 12, Texas at 13, Louisville at 14, Vandy at 15, Georgia Tech at 16, Utah at 17, the U, Miami at 18, Mizzou at 19, SC at 20, Michigan at 21, Memphis at 22, um, Tennessee at 23, Washington at 24, and Cincinnati at 25. So if you have a favorite college football team and you don't like the way the AP poll and what your team is ranked, and you got beef, you got something to say about why your team is where it is, and if the schedule said you had tougher games and you should have been ranked higher, or if a team is ranked too high, give you an example about a controversy. Everybody's saying that Ohio State didn't really play anybody, and although they're undefeated, Indiana had more quality wins than them, and they're still undefeated. You know what I mean? And A&M is just, they may be the scrappiest team in all its college football. You know what I mean? And then Bama love the way their quarterback is playing. So we shall see what we should see. Let us know what you think about the AP poll, top 25. Do you should we rearrange it? Should we make a top 25 that actually makes sense? Does this not make sense at all? You know what I'm saying? Talk to us. Let us know. The way that you do that is, let me put that up right now because I usually put it up before the show. Um, so you have to type in the StreamYard address down below, and you could jump on live on stage with me and talk your college football ish if you want to. If you don't want to, we will just run through, and then you can put it in the chat, and I'll get your response and I will answer all your questions next time. StreamYard.com, HEF 4PPRNQU. And you can put your stuff in there. I will see it, I'll answer it, or we can get it to an live on stage like some cussing motherfuckers. All right. So we're gonna move on. Keep it strong. So since we talked about the top 25 and all of the teams that are doing well, let's get into the most outstanding performers of week 10. So according to Pro Football Focus, Julian Sayin was the top quarterback of the week. He was named QB of the week. And also the running back, Wayshawn Parker of Utah. He rushed for 104 yards and 2 touchdowns against Cincinnati, his second consecutive 100-yard game. Well, if you acknowledging 100-yard running backs, why don't you acknowledge Jordan Marshall from the University of Michigan that ran for almost 135 yards and 3 touchdowns? What's up with the no Michigan love? What's going on with that, PFF? But anyway, so they got wide receiver Brandon Thompson from Mississippi State. He was the SEC top player in the SEC after a strong Week 10 performance. And then the offensive lineman, the whole offensive line of Florida as a unit was named the offensive line of the week. Defensive player standouts, Austin Romaine of Kansas State, named the defensive player of the week. Edge rusher Colin Simmons of Texas, named pass rusher of the week. I don't know about that. There's a dude in Michigan called Derek Moore. He's had 2 sacks for the last 4 weeks. Get involved. Cornerback, Avrion Cold, Western Kentucky, named the college defender of the week. And interior lineman or defensive tackle, Taiwan Christopher of Kennesaw State, named the run defender of the week. And those are your top performances for week 10 of college football, as it were. So I'm sure those young men had outstanding performances. If you have a team, if you have your team and you want your team acknowledged, please put it in the chat. I will acknowledge your team's outstanding player for last week, and we can talk about him a little bit. But Clutch Points has a Heisman ranking. Heisman, that's right, the coveted college football award of the year. Clutchfield is doing it. They have a Heisman list that we should take a look at because the season is wearing down, and we need to be aware of the Heisman positioning, where people are, what people can do to move forward, who is giving their all to win the coveted award, who will win the Doak Walker, who will win all of the college football positional awards. I'm not going to do that tonight. But I will talk about Clutchfield and what they think is going to be clutch points, not Clutchfield, clutch points, and their 2025 Heisman power rankings. So let's check it out. All right. Well, as you can see, Fernando Mendoza is still doing his thug thizzle like last week and the week before, and pretty much all season. Fernando Mendoza, of the quarterback of Indiana, has been getting busy and doing his thing. Okay, I'm waiting for the pick to come on up. As soon as it comes on up, I will continue. Okay. All right. All right. Bear with me 1 second, family. Let me reset this and I will come back and we will do Heisman. We will do top ranking Heisman power. All right. So are we back? Can you hear me? Okay. I see. I see my levels. My levels look good. So we back to the avatar, and now we back up on our Heisman Trophy power rankings. So you see the quarterback from Texas A&M, you see Julian Sand and from Ohio State, and then you see Fernando Mendoza. So we got Julian Sand, Ohio State. He's the favorite to win the Heisman Trophy. Uh, Ohio State is the best team in the nation, will puts him in position to win the award. He has a 99.1 QBR rating last week. Crazy. Um, never looked at him as a game breaker. But then you have Fernando Mendoza. Now he deserves it. He drops to the second spot this week. He's not coming off an amazing game versus Maryland. He completed 15 of 21 of 201 yards and a touchdown. He did not. He did throw an interception. Mendoza is completed 162 of 224 passes and 2,000 yards, 25 touchdowns on the season. That's pretty thick in my opinion. I don't know what they talking about, but I like Fernando Mendoza for this award, not Julian Sand. Um, Marcel Reed. Now Marcel Reed is a dark horse, although I think he's worth mentioning. I think he deserves a lot of recognition. Only four teams remains in the undefeated teams in the FBS. Ohio State and Indiana are coming out of the Big Ten. BYU is undefeated out of the Big 12, and Texas A&M out of the SEC, led by Marcel Reed. He's passed for 1,900 yards. Um, Although he has six interceptions, he's run for six scores. So, but Marcel Reed is doing it, man. You know, when you watch that A&M game, especially go back and watch that Notre Dame game. Woo! You want to go watch a game? Watch that Notre Dame Texas A&M game. They got busy. That was one that might go down as the best game of the year, pound for pound on any team. All right. So those are your Heisman odds. Then they follow by Ty Simpson, the quarterback from Bama. Then they follow by Diego Piava from Vanderbilt. Then Jeremiah Smith, Gunnar Stockton of Georgia, and on and on and on. The only three that I think make sense is Marcel Reed, uh, Fernando Mendoza, and Julian Sand, because those are the ones that have been the most consistent all year round. I don't think one so-so game should eliminate you from Heisman contention, but I'm not the ones that make up the rules. So we did our AP, we did our outstanding players. We're watching the Heisman and power ranking it, and now we're going to talk about playoffs. Playoffs, yeah. If the playoffs were today, so if the college football playoffs were today, who would be in it? Who would not be in it? Who would get the bye? Let's chop it up. All right. So the way they got it going, the bye will go to Ohio State at 1, Indiana at 2, Texas A&M would be at 3, Bama would be at 4, and then the playing games would be Georgia versus Memphis at 5 and 12. It will be Ole Miss versus Virginia at 11. It would be BYU versus Notre Dame, which is a very odd game. That sounds like the Dry Bowl. I don't know what that's going to look like. And then Texas Tech versus Oregon, which is 8 and 9. Um, yeah. Yeah. So, you know, yeah. And then they say the two teams that are going to be out of contention for the college football playoffs that are in contention right now will be Texas and Oklahoma. So y'all tell us at home, what do y'all think? Do y'all think Ohio State deserves to be number one, or should Indiana be number one? Because this is the actual college football committee placement after week 10. That just kind of puts everybody on notice as to, how they see the playoffs evolving at week 10, the last quarter of the college football season. Y'all let us know in the comments, man. Talk to us. Let us know where you coming from. Let us know what you think. Does Ohio State deserve to be one? Does Indiana deserve to be one? Is Oklahoma and Texas gonna be, saying bye bye? Are they gonna be bye bye in the field of 12? Y'all let us know. And then also this week coming up, we got college football picks, the best games for your buck in week 11 games coming up. Of course, Michigan has a bye. You got Oregon playing Iowa. You got LSU playing Bama. I wanted to be down there for that game. That's my baby girl's school. I wanted to be there for that game. That game is probably going to be crazy. Texas A&M versus Mizzou. That's another good one. And then, of course, BYU versus Texas Tech. Don't know much about BYU. I'm sure they're always solid. They're always very disciplined. But give me Texas Tech for the offense. Give me Oregon with the offense versus the Hawkeyes. Give me Bama with Ty Simpson spinning, and then give me Texas A&M with Marcel Reed spinning as the winners of the toughest games this week in college football. Okay, well, of course, with everything, everybody with the blood clot crying, you know, about what Michigan is doing. Michigan this, Michigan that. Why doesn't Michigan have a better passing game? So on and so forth. So Michigan had one bye week before. This will be the second bye week of the season. And we are going to go through our categories for the Michigan Wolverines football team and then analyze them by position and just briefly talk about what they have to do to be better for the last quarter of the football season so that they can um, beat Ohio State and make it into the college football playoffs. Because that's really the only scenario that exists right now for the Michigan Wolverines. But we always on the bright side, like you see it right here in the pick. We always on the bright side. That maize and blue is always going to shine. So let's get to it. Matchups. So now, normally we would feature the team that we're going to play next week. But since we have a bye this week, we're just going to talk about the team itself, starting with the quarterback position. Okay, so the wonder child, right? The golden child, Bryce Underwood, the best quarterback coming out of recruiting for last year, top overall quarterback, the $1 million man himself is gonna be just fine. He had a freshman moment. Knock it off. Knock it off. He's had a freshman moment. And if anything that's going to be his Achilles heel is how much he has to get used to different people coming in there, different rhythms of receivers, tight ends, running backs. The skill positions around him has changed drastically. You know what I'm saying? No Justice Haynes. It's now Jordan Marshall. That's not a slack. It's just a different person, right? No Marlon Klein. You got Zach Marshall. And you Deacon and Tony Ellie. That's not who you started the season with. You know what I mean? No, what's his name? What's his name? Goodwin. You have uh Andrew Marsh. Now Andrew Marsh is his homie, and I see that they have a lot of rhythm together, but he is pretty much new. And then now that Donovan McCulley may not be in there, he may be hurt. you're going to get a whole nother person playing an X receiver. Maybe Browder, maybe Kendrick Bell. Who knows? You know? And that's critical. That's crucial for a young quarterback to have continuity so that when you go against the slop teams, the slop bucket teams, the dust bucket teams like Michigan State and Purdue and Wisconsin. And they're not that good, but you're not beating them by a whole lot. You're beating them by maybe 14, 13, 11 points, whatever it amounts to. It's only because the chemistry of your wide receivers around you and your skill position players around you is not the same. And Bryce's quarterback, his clock, his processing clock is a lot faster than maybe the people that are stepping into the game. And if you didn't see that, then you didn't see the first game of the year or the second game of the year. And you would realize how fast his quarterback clock is. He wants that ball out in 2.7 seconds, 2.5 seconds. And maybe some of these receivers and skill positions are not ready for that sort of heat. So, of course, a lot of incompletions, a lot of forcing the ball, a lot of trying to make things happen when the offense is not in rhythm. Well, you got this week to batten down the hatches, get some 7-on-7 in, get some jugs in, get some skill position work in, get some catching the ball in before every practice, after every practice. Let's get that in so that when you step back on the field, you have a rhythm, you have a continuity. I'm not worried. Number one, I'm not worried because our schedule manifests itself pretty well. And your freshman quarterback is going to have one of these games. And we knew it was coming. JJ had the Bowling Green game with the 3 interceptions because he was forcing everything in the world. And now you have Bryce that had 2 turnovers because he was forcing everything in the world, trying to make it happen for his team. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. What Bryce has to recognize, though, is maybe there's a night where he could be a little bit more dominant with his legs and his wheels rather than his throwing arm. And I think the game against Michigan State and Purdue was probably a game where he could have been a lot more dominant with his legs rather than his arm. And he forced things a little bit. And then, of course, there's ball control and ball safety. You don't want to be fumbling the ball, trying to run for a touchdown or make a play. So I'm okay with it. Let's move on to running backs. Jordan Marshall. Wow, what a train. What a blessing we got that he's on our squad and he can step up and give us the same production as Justice Haynes, just not the same style of production. So Jordan Marshall had 3 touchdowns and over 100 yards versus Purdue. He did the same thing versus Michigan State and did the same thing versus Wisconsin. That boy is a dump truck. That boy can bang. You know what I mean? Kind of puts me in the mind of Otis Anderson from the Giants a little bit. How rugged he is running the football. Um, very, very powerful runner. Always falls forward. Always has a full head of steam and works for every touchdown. So if he gets in the end zone and he's screaming and yelling and having a moment, give that man a moment because he earned every bit of that. You know what I'm saying? So I don't have a problem with what's going on with running back on the team. We just need our running backs that are coming in, Colesdall and Jasper Parker, to provide some outlet, maybe some tough yards, or maybe a spring run from Jasper Parker, maybe a sprint, maybe a 10, 8 yard, off tackle run that gets some quick yardage because you're using your quicks and your feet. You know what I mean? You're working the ladder and you're giving Jordan Marshall a needed rest. We got to work that situation out there. But I'm sure the running back coach from Michigan will be fine with that. And he'll figure out a rotation for those running backs that is, you know, progressive, and it's going to help the team. Wide receivers. Now, this has been the enigma of the year. And I'm not crazy down on Samaj. Am I disappointed? Am I like, did he underperform this year? Yeah, of course. But am I crazy disappointed? No, because I've been a college athlete. I've been in a position where you might have a down moment, and then that causes you to question your ability or causes you to lose your confidence a little bit. And then you need a moment, you need a win, whether it's in practice or in the weight room or conditioning or wherever it is. You need a moment to give you that rise, that springboard again, put that battery back in your back. We'll see Samaj again this year. We'll see him doing this thug thizzle one more time this year. Should he be in the larger scope of the three wide in the offense? No. I think the three wide in the offense should be one of the tight ends, actually. I think it should be if Donovan McCulley is able to go, you go Donovan McCulley, Andrew Marsh, and then you go Zach Marshall. And I think those are your best three receivers. I think those are your best consistent receivers. And if they can't, if Zach Marshall can't get open as a tight end, he could use his body and he could use his body and be a possession receiver. You know what I mean? So I don't like what the receivers are doing this year. I think we need to up the talent level in the room, or at least trust some more receivers to do some other things, like a Browder or a Kendrick Bell. We need to like really give those dudes a spin, give them a game to see what they can actually get done out there on the field. Not quite sure what that's about. We will get into some help that's coming along the way in our recruiting segment. But for right now, we want to talk about how the receivers on the Michigan squad have been underwhelming. And we thought they were going to be a lot better after the Wisconsin game and after the Nebraska game. We thought we were headed in a positive direction with the receivers. But, that's why, you have that. That's why you have your coach. And the wide receivers coach, he needs to earn his paycheck, not just recruit, but earn your paycheck and get them boys on the field playing with a clear head and a full heart and giving it all they got despite having a down season. We're going to need them against teams like Ohio State before it's all said and done. Even Maryland. Maryland is not a sure out either. We're not just going to walk into Maryland and win that game. We got to bring receivers. We got to bring, our aerial game to make sure that we are as thick as we need to be. All right, so now we're talking about tight ends. And I just told you about how our tight end room is really, really dope this year. We have a lot of specialities within the room. Of course, starting with Max Bredesen, but we also got Hoffman that ran that double bluff and got Bryce Underwood on the edges, and he scored. That was an awesome game, awesome play by Chip Lindsey, awesome setup, and an awesome execution by the offense. We need more of that. But then we also have Zach Marshall that's kind of getting the snaps for Klein, since Klein has been, kind of in and out with the boo-boos and the injuries. Hopefully this week we'll have him back, because if we have him and Zach Marshall back, now you having two interior receivers that can really use their body and be possession receivers for the offense while we try to get the ball downfield to our wideouts. And that will really help if we can move the sticks with our bigger body receivers. Hopefully we can even get Hoffman into the game as receivers because he had such a great spring game. So now let's talk about O-line. Well, I think we have our best combination of old linemen in at this point. So if you watch the Purdue game, you saw a graphic on the screen that showed how many Michigan offensive linemen have been in the game or been a starter since the year began. But I think Blake Frazier at left tackle, Giovanni Ohadi at left guard, then you got Crimpin, then you got Jake Renera, and then you got Andrew Sprague at right tackle. I think that's the best unit that we're gonna have this year. So, cross your fingers. You know what I'm saying? Spit in the wind with a chicken bone. Hopefully they stay healthy and we can march those rugged dudes into the Ohio State game. Ohio State won't know what hit them because nobody's going to come to them with the same rugged offensive line that can bang out those run yards, pause, that no other team can do. They haven't seen a physical team like our team up front all year long. That's going to be dedicated to pounding the rock, pause, right? As much as Michigan does. That's our bread and butter. Like I said in last week's show, we are the antithesis of the spread offense in college football. We are designed to stop it, and we are designed to strangle it with clock management and time of possession. All right, man. So now let's go to defensive line. So we got some boo boos, man. We got Jay Sean Barn back banged up. We have a couple of our. I think Damon Payne Jr. might be a little banged up, and maybe Trey Williams is a little banged up. So we got some defensive linemen banged up, and we need these couple of weeks to really get back in rhythm, get these guys iced up, son. You know what I mean? Get them some, TLC, maybe from their girl, maybe from the trainers, and get these dudes feeling good about themselves and back on the field, ready to be gritty for the last quarter of the football season. Because other than unlike last year, all our goals are still ahead of us. So stop the blood clot crying, right? Screwface told you, stop the blood clot crying, get to work, get it done, get on the field. You know what I mean? I can remember I played a game and I must have had maybe 4 or 5 ankle sprains in one game. And I had to kick off. You think my coach let me come out that game? I was tapping my helmet like crazy. He was like, nope. You stay your ass in there and kick that ball off. I ain't got nobody. So that's not the case for Michigan. Michigan is very deep. So hopefully in this week off, the D line can get some young bodies in there, some Dominic Nichols in there, some TJ Guys in there, some Edapayes in there, and really start to plug and play some of our talent, our young talent. So if we can't beat them with physicality, we can get them with the talent. You know what I'm saying? We can get them with the young, raw talent, right? And then, of course, that extends to our linebackers. Let's talk about them. So, of course, the pleasant spots of the season, Cole Sullivan and, number 30 for Michigan. I always forget his name. Jimmy Rolder. They're hurt. And we have to see if, maybe it's a burner, maybe it's a rotator cuff, and we can get these guys back on the field uh, to help us out with Northwestern. I mean, we need them next week. And this is what I'll say: if we can get by Northwestern and give them one more week to heal up, ice up, son, and have them back for Maryland, that will be a great dress rehearsal for who they think is the number one team in the nation in them zero state Buckeyes. So, our linebacker unit is a little hurt, but I like the way Bowles is playing. I can't wait to see more Wu Tang, more Nathan uh, Boateng in the game doing his thing. He's a super, super talented linebacker. I can't wait for him to fully understand what he's doing because he's going to fly around and raise a lot of hell. And I love Ernest Hausman. He had a game last week against Purdue that was really outstanding. That might just march him into Indianapolis for that draft with that game against Purdue. He needs a great game against Ohio State and Maryland as well. Now let's get to DBs. I like the way our corners are playing. Um, Zeke Berry is playing very well. He's playing a really good game. He's rounding off the year at a superb level. So I'm digging the way he's playing. Um, Jair Hill is always scrappy. And we have a really dynamic safety room. We have some really dynamic safeties, nickel transition type of backs in our safety room. And I just want to see maybe during the bye week, Wink Martindale can scheme up some different ways for that dynamic safety room to be more effective. Now, I know that Rod Moore may not be 100%. He might have retweaked that knee, but you still have Metcalf. You still have Brandon Hillman. You still have a lot of young people who have some spins. You know, we burnt some red shirts. You know, we burnt some, freshman year eligibility playing these young guys. So why not really trust them in some situations to really be good for you and really get out there and work for you? We've been doing this really wonky substitution thing so that all our defensive backs have experience. Well, now that they're in there, Mason Curtis is really dynamic because he's like a 6'5" guy playing safety. So he can come down and play linebacker if you need him to. He can drive back and play half field safety if you need him to. And he has to learn from that Washington game how to do those baseball turns and not lose inside out distance from the receiver. But I think our DBs would be fine. They're a scrappy bunch. We had our turnover differential versus, I think we have the number one turnover differential in the Big Ten. Outside, regardless of Ohio State being number one, I think we have the number one turnover differential, and that is basically interceptions. So, and that's basically due because our safeties and our nickel positions are really playing well. They're really getting after it. Um, we give up a lot in the intermediate game, in the tight end game, and with screens and gadget plays that are not part of the usual context for a particular team, and then we'll just in our effort to get off the field, be a little overzealous and give up a play or two. But hopefully, like I said, any off week we can design and scheme up some ways to free up and take advantage of our safety and our safety room and their special attributes. Um, I think we'll be just fine there. We just got to rep it out, rep it out, rep it out, stop the blood clot crying and rep it out. All right, let's get to Eye in the Sky. So Eye in the Sky is about the character, integrity, and momentum. So I don't see the character of this team changing. 7-2, all our goals ahead of us. We could walk around with our heads up. We're probably the fourth best team in the Big Ten. Of the gazillion teams that are in the Big Ten, we're probably the fourth best team in the Big Ten as it stands right now. We might be neck and neck with Penn State for the fourth best team in the Big Ten right now. They do it their way, we do it our way. And if we win, we have to win out in order to qualify for the playoffs. And we have to beat Ohio State and get a invitation to the Big Ten championship and win it. Now we might have to play Oregon as the Big Ten West champ, but that'll be what it has to be. We don't never fear no competition. It's just about getting on the field and letting it all hang out. You know what I'm saying? But we have to win out. So I think the character of the team is good. I don't want Bryce. This will be a good time for Chip Lindsey and Bryce Underwood and um Sharon Moore and Wink Martindale to have a powwow and give that man a lot of support and love so that he feels good and he feels fortified. He feels like he could go into the last quarter of the year strong, confident, ready to ready to spin that thing and score touchdowns with both his arm and his legs and be super dynamic with his mind. So, I think the character of the team is fine. Jordan Marshall has helped out a lot. because when things look bleakest, here he is churning out 8 yards, churning out 10 yards, or busting one open for a touchdown. Um, and he's pretty much put the team on his back. And he is the integrity of the team. He is the truth of the team. He's been steady since that was Nebraska game. Um, Even when Justice Haynes was in and out, he's been the rock. He's been the train. He's been the truck, chugging along, grinding out them yards the way we need him to, and putting quality points on the board, and then letting our defense, be able to pin their ears back and go after the quarterback and do what we do, which is get sacks and create pressure. So, and then momentum. I think we got a lot of both. I think I like the way we handled that crazy home and away schedule that we had. Home and away, home away, home away, home away. And that could leave you a little topsy turvy. Usually some teams get two at home, three at home, one away. Or one at home and two away and then two at home. You know what I mean? They double you up at home so that you can get a little more continuity. I don't know what Ward Manuel was doing with that schedule, but he didn't do us no favors this year. Maybe we have a really fortunate schedule in that way coming for next season, where we have maybe 3 or 4 games at home versus. So the eye in the sky looks favorable for the Wolverines. I'm liking what I'm seeing. We have to batten down the hatches. We have to really make some cohesion and some tenacity in that passing game. If we could get some stability in that passing game, we don't even need touchdowns. We just need first downs. If whenever we're in a third and long or third and needy, if we can get that passing game going, I think in possession game going, I think everything else is ahead of us. Because our running game is going to show up and our defense is going to show up. But what makes the defense have to bend and not break in a lot of games is if they have to come right back on the field because we did not get enough first downs to put points on the board. All right, man. Now let's get to game inside the game. Okay, let's get to that. So, game inside the game is about the insights, the no crap analysis, and predictions for the rest of the season. What I see is us. I see us running it. I really do. And like we always do, we always prepare for Ohio State, to start the sign in the weight room, the sign in front of the stadium. What are you doing to prepare for Ohio State today? Right? That's always ongoing. That's a Michigan tradition. So that's always going to happen. But we have Northwestern and Maryland coming up. Maryland got that young boy spinning that ball, looking nice. He seemed nice and confident about his and the way that he's going about his business. So we can't sleep on either team of the three we have left. And then, of course, an invitation to the Big Ten championship and then winning it. So we have all 4 games ahead of us. There's a lot of teams not able to participate right now. I mean, let's tell the truth. There's a lot of teams in the Big Ten, SEC, Pac 10, Big 12. They can't participate right now. They can't sit down at the big people table. They got to go to the kiddie table. You know what I mean? They can't rock with us right now. So, because of their record and the fact that they don't have an identity, but we do. We have an identity. We got that power running game. And what I would like to see is more explosive play action plays down the field. And that's where I think Crowder, not Crowder, Browder or Crowder. Let me look it up real quick. Let me be very, very accurate. Yeah, I think it's Jalen Crowder, if I'm not mistaken. Let me see. Oh, he's not even listed in the depth chart. All right. Well, he was in the game last week. He had a spin or two. He had a couple of series, and he looked okay. He had one of those kind of, catch it twice sort of repetitions in the game, and I guess they didn't like that. Ron Bellamy didn't like that. They wanted him to look a little more sharper because he's a little bit too talented to be stumbling, bumbling with the ball. And then, of course, that can lead to turnovers if you get a good shot from a safety or a DB while you're bumbling the ball. That turns into a tip drill. So, I think we should ID, 4 or 5 receivers and let Bryce just get reps with the 4 or 5 receivers and tight ends that are going to be in the game the most going down the stretch. So that reps in practice, reps versus team, reps on scale, reps on air, you know, whatever we got to do for him to get that uh rhythm with those guys going in. So I think our best, if we can get McCulley in, we get McCulley, we get Marsh, and then we get Zach Marshall, and then we get Klein. I like those 4. I like Klein and Zach Marshall on the inside. I like Marsh and McCulley on the outside. And I think if we use those people in that regard, I think we'll be really good. We just need our O line to hold up versus those, you know, blitzing fronts that come out of, passing the ball. But we got to be a little more dynamic there. And with defense, we just got to heal up a little bit, man. We got to get a couple of people on the field that maybe we can get a Rolder back on the field. I don't know what his, prognosis is. I don't know what Cole Sullivan's prognosis is, if they're out indefinitely or what, but I hope we can get 1 or 2 of them back in and we don't have to move Jay Sean Barham back to linebacker. I hope he comes back. I'm pretty sure he will. He's a tough dude. He'll probably come back. But like I said, stop the blood clot crying, right? And just get to work, get better, heal up, you know, develop, make sure that those things that you're working on in the bye week affect the team going down the stretch. Take some chances there, set some things up in the offensive playbook that take advantage of your talents. Maybe add Jordan Marshall to your screen game a little bit more, to your passing game a little bit more, to give Bryce more of an outlet for how we can move the ball down the field. Maybe put a running back wheel in there or something like that that can get us up the field with a little bit more, uh, a little bit more dynamic enthusiasm. You know what I'm saying? With a little fire in his pocket. You know what I'm saying? 'Cause Jordan Marshall is that dude. So join us next Friday when we do the preview of the Northwestern game, and we give you all the details. Oh, you know what? I forgot. We have a world premiere. We have a world premiere. We have a world premiere. It's flip season, y'all. Let's get into it on the Big House Breakdown. I was about to bounce, and I forgot about flip season. Here we go. Yeah, Michigan got some signings. That's right. We have some commitments. We got Aiden Reeder, linebacker, who flipped from where he flipped from. I believe it's Duke, right? No, it was Wisconsin. Sorry about that. Aiden Reeder flipped from Wisconsin to Michigan, and then we got Tommy Froman. He from Loyola Academy of Chicago. He was committed to a MAC school. The 6'8" senior riser, really talented kid, really athletic offensive tackle, flips from the MAC school that he was committed to the University of Michigan. And if you like Michigan football and you see that we'll take a developmental talent, because Michigan prides itself on developing their young athletes. So they're not, if if it's a really talented upside for the young man, and he's ready to come through and commit to the school, we will take a chance on him in that very way. Now let's talk about some other recruits while we are at it, because it's flip season, and we want to talk about Marcus Jennings. He's a Pitt commit, University of Pittsburgh. I believe he's either a linebacker or a corner, and has a potential flip. He's a potential flip candidate. Caden Kitchens, UCF linebacker, also is ready to sign with the Wolverine. Danny Odom, Oregon. Um, He's a potential flip commit. Xavier Finney, he's a potential flip commit. We got a lot of them going. And then, of course, our crown jewels in our recruiting class is Xavier Hyder, the 5-star running back, Carter Meadows, the 5-star defensive end, and Moose Ludwig, the 5-star tight end / wide receiver. Keep your eye on Donald Tabron for 2027, Mushan Sales 2027, Matthew Gregory 2027. Some people that could still come through: DQ Forkba, he might be a thing. CJ Brunner, Jay Timmons, and Jamarion Vincent. Sean Stover is maybe in the works. Adrian Hamilton, offensive lineman out of DC. He might be in there. There's a lot of poaching for Julian Walker. That really outstanding defensive end out of South Carolina. And then Jamarion Vincent is a really dope player committed to Baylor, but he can be coaxed too. And of course, they're still working on Nick Abrams because he's a really quality linebacker. CJ Brunner and Davion Benjamin. Khalil Taylor is a really intriguing talent at wide receiver who was committed to Penn State and is now looking at Michigan and will be here for the Ohio State game. And that is our Flip City recruiting report. Let's get into this one more time. Yeah, them boys is in the A2. In the A2 crew. Yeah, boy, that's what we do with that. That's what we do with that. Stay tuned for more and more and more recruiting news as we put it out there for the Big House Breakdown. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, turn on all your comments and your notifications. Like the video, tell your people about it. Timestamp what you like and leave a message about something. If you like what you see and like what you do, leave a comment, leave a follow, leave a heart, leave a like. We love y'all. We want to see y'all next week on the Big House Breakdown. I'm the Vic, and we out.